My name's April Lentini. I'm the content strategist for Georgia Gov Interactive. So there's been a lot of talk about data. Data too, but a lot of talk about content strategy. And everybody just kind of mentions content. So I'm the content strategist, no pressure. I have an hour. I'm kind of blending in the workshop with some talk on content strategy. How many here have a content strategy? Oh, all right, two. Okay, not bad. You have an actual strategy in documents, and okay, cool. Very good. Well, I'm going to walk you through what content strategy is, and the goal here is, we get up here and we talk about this stuff, and omni-channel can, like, wow, this is all this really cool information taking us to Star Trek and beyond. But my goal here is actually to put some practical stuff that you guys can actually put to use when you get back to your offices and work with your agencies. Okay, so let's start with content strategy. What is content strategy? It really could mean different things for different people. I've worked in corporations before where content strategy was more or less a wordsmith or a writer. You're like, oh, ask the content strategist to write that for you. Well, writing is a big part of content strategy. You do have to have a plan, and you do a lot of writing, copywriting for the web. There's SEO involved, a little bit of marketing, content strategy. They kind of blur. There's a fine line there, kind of blends together. Overall, what a content strategy does, it's a high-level vision that guides content creation from planning to delivery, okay? And for the big picture, the goal of a content strategy, it supports user goals and business objectives. So you may not really think of yourself as businesses, but you kind of are. You're in your agency. You run your own business within your agency, and the content strategy that you create for your agency is meant to support your business objectives, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So, a lot of talk about personas. Who are your users, and what are their goals? Your citizens. Basically, how I like to think of content strategy is the 3 W's. It's the who, what, and the why. That's kind of the big picture of content strategy. You want to know who's coming to your site, what background knowledge do they have of your agency, what's their education level on what they're coming to look for, why are they visiting the site? That's the big question, because these are things that you're obviously going to solve. Personas and empathy maps. Empathy maps are kind of new. Personas kind of have been around a little while, but now there's this empathy. There's this movement for empathy, transparency, kind of like really getting into the head of your users, and we'll get into that in a minute too. So basically, personas are a snapshot of a type of user. Where did he go? He was sitting right there. The guy who had persona questions. It's basically just a snapshot. Obviously, like, people are complicated. I'm complicated. Many other people are complicated. We can't really put everybody into a box, but we can overall try, basically, for the basic variables that were for the purposes of creating content. So this is an example of what personas look like. I'm sure you've seen some things like this before. This is a persona worksheet. Okay, you've got Chad. They usually have a cute name. He's the busy professional. Sally's the busy mom, working mom. Heston, he's the coffee guru. We have pretty much basic information in personas. You've got the demographics of their age, their gender, where they live, okay, and we're in Georgia, so your demographics, that's going to be an easy one. They're going to be in the state of Georgia. Their goals, the market sizes, and they usually come along with a cute little quote, just to kind of neatly sum up their persona. And I wish he was here because he had those questions about personas. I worked for a company, a big hotel corporation called Intercontinental Hotel Group. Anybody heard of them? They have 10 different hotel brands. They've got Holiday Inn, Crowne Plaza. They've got Hotel Indigo, which is kind of a funky hotel. They did persona research. Private corporations can spend thousands, millions even of dollars on persona research. And we went in with this research company as part of the content strategist and UX team, and we sat down and they did this 6-month, I don't know, maybe a year-long research project coming up with personas to fit all different kind of travelers for IHG. Now IHG is, that's a large hotel group. They came up with 5 personas of travelers. So the question about, how many do we fit into a bucket? You can take a large population and fit them into however many personas you want, but generally, even for large, sample sizes, you're not looking at your 5, 6 personas. They had Molly the Maximizer. Molly the Maximizer was that one with the Excel spreadsheet that went and said, okay, number 1 stop, we got to hit the Eiffel Tower, we got to hit this, the towers of this, that, and she's the mass organizer. She's the super organized traveler that has her list, and she's going to check it off as she travels. Okay, that helps us decide, okay, this one, she's organized. This is the one we're going to speak to that has to have all her checks and ticks in the right places, and she appreciates efficiency because she's on the plane, she's passing out her itinerary to her friends and her family members, and she's going to check off her things. That helps us there. They had Garrett the Gatherer, who liked to just gather his family for family reunions, and he'd go and spend time. Maybe he was one of those ones that stayed at those residential suites that you stay in for a longer period of time. I forget the name of them now. Homeward Suites, things like that. I think that was actually one of their brands. So he was Garrett the Gatherer because he stayed for weeks at a time and he gathered his friends and family. So just to explain to you that you can use a big sample size and fit people into the categories that work for your agencies. Another example of personas. This is the worksheet. You can compare side by side. Let's say you have 4 personas. Some of the things that you might be interested in knowing are what industries do they work in, what devices do they use, and what attitudes do they have when they're coming to your site for information. Okay? We'll get into empathy in a minute, but you need to know, like, what is their education level? What do they know and what do they need to know? All go into deciding the variables of deciding the characteristics of that persona. Empathy maps. So this is where we get into the touchy-feely empathy maps. And you have an empathy map, which is what we're going to be working on. This has come about, I don't know, I just heard of this when I started working here. This is how people feel. This is more sensory experience. What are people feeling when they come to their site? Are they going to be aggravated? What are their problems? What are their pain points? This is really diving into their psyche of how they're going to feel when they come to your site and how you can be prepared for that. An example of an empathy map. You've got their person there in the middle. You got the quadrants. What do the visitors hear? What do they say and do, see? What are their pains? What are their gains? So you really focus on the sensory experience there. I'd like to share with you something that we did for one of our clients called Consumer Ed. Do we have Consumer Ed here tonight by any chance? We just finished this Consumer Ed. Consumer Ed is a division of the Department of Law of Georgia. And it is a website to help consumers understand, identity theft, things that, scams, current scams, how they might be getting swindled somehow or another in the state of Georgia. So it's protection of consumers in Georgia. They were really kind of set on, they were really, really concerned about millennials and attracting or getting the attention of millennials. So when they came to us, they were like, well, we really want to make sure that we, get the market of millennials because they're young people and they want to know about housing and apartments and finances. They're brand new to this world and they're just coming out of college in the nest, and we have to help the young people. Well, come to find out, the younger millennials really aren't using the web for questions like this. They're on Snapchat. Okay, so they're not really going to this website to pose a question. And it was basically user-generated content, meaning people come to the website, they actually ask a question, and their questions become public, and you get to see what the answer is. Instead, what we found was, looking deeper into it, that there is a market, in their case, for an older population. We came up with suburban working dad. This is the empathy map for suburban working dad. And I don't know if you can read this, but I'll read some stuff off to you. This was based on actually an actual post that someone had about putting their elderly parents into an assisted living facility. So, good thing to keep in mind is this isn't just made up. I just didn't pull this out and make this up. When you're doing empathy maps, of course we don't have the resources to spend several $1,000s dumping into a research company like some private companies do. As long as they're based on real people that you've interacted with, you can pretty much come up with this stuff yourself, so long as that caveat there is a real person, real situation. So suburban working dad, we all know this guy. He's got a wife and some kids, and he's got older parents that he needs to try to care for. He's in a different segment of his life. He likes football. I mean, you go on and you can just make this guy. You probably know this guy. He lives. Also, he says what he does, not exactly the same thing. He says, don't live beyond your means, but, well, he lives slightly beyond his means, So just because they say something doesn't mean actually that they do it. Don't get into debt. Well, he's got credit card debts. I know. He says, I have all the answers, but he's Googling the answers, just like we do. So I like spicy buffalo wings, beer, and football. He eats, spicy buffalo wings, and he watches football. His pains, he fears making a wrong decision. He doesn't want to look foolish, he doesn't know what he should do. His frustration, he's got no practical idea how to simplify things without sacrificing his current lifestyle. He doesn't have enough free time to search purchases and make major financial decisions with reliable information. So we've got his wants: more leisure time, less stress, less credit. He needs a life coach, better communication and goal sharing with his wife. Some of the things in his environment that he may feel: TV commercials, he's very influenced. He's learning that, he may hear that, he needs more hair in a commercial, at his stage of life. Or consumer reports. He reads consumer reports and it's telling him, hey, these car reviews, pay attention to this because this is the car you need to buy. His environment. And we talked about this. This comes back around to empathy and environment. He sees suburbia. He gets a ton of junk mail, catalogs, whatever. So this is something we're actually going to be working on, taking a stab at an empathy map based on customers or clients or people, constituents, citizens that you guys have worked with. So who's your audience? You all should have the empathy map with some lines to fill in. And I'll give you like 5 minutes. And if you guys want to just fill in who your main, the first one that comes to mind. Who is the person that comes to your website? And also, just to throw it out there, many people kind of make assumptions. Oh, well, I know who my user is. But to give you the idea, that the millennial thing, who we thought was our user, really ended up not being our user. Where there was a whole market that we were trying to speak to that we really didn't know.
My name is Martin. I'm the digital content manager at the Georgia Student Finance Commission. We run your HOPE programs. I think that our main user for our agency site, which is the one we have through GTA, is the person I picked was named Johnny, and he's an assistant for someone at the State House who uses our site to go get information I need to know about the state grants and scholarships, because we host our regulations, and that's our main reason, one of the main reasons, one of the main links, one of the main hits for our site is people coming and looking at regulations, coming in and trying to get that information, that specific genre information. So he's hearing from his parents that they're proud of him for working with the state, and he's hearing from his friends at school that he went to school with. They can't believe he got that job. His friends at the job are dishing the latest gossip about the officials that they're working with. Mm-hmm. He feels if he's going to be able to move up in government through this position, and he feels that his boss doesn't appreciate him for the amount of work that he does, and that's all I got to. But okay. That's what I think in terms of our agency site. I think that's kind of the people that are going to, because it is legislators and everything like that are getting information there, and I don't think it's them. I think it's the assistants that they say, we need this, go get this for me. So that would be Johnny.
Okay, so he's going to the site not because he needs to, but because he's asked to?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So who's asking him?
An official, a higher official, whether of the state government or whether it's at the Capitol House or something like that. But basically, this is an assistant, I think, for the most part. If not, I'm sure there are others, but yeah. That's the one I picked, getting information about the state programs that we offer.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, because a lot of the people that may be coming to your sites aren't necessarily the end person that needs that information. They may be asked to go there for their job. And many of the agencies, that's how we work. I mean, that's how the GTA works. We're all kind of B2B, or we need information for our another company or an employer. So that's a good thing to consider and empathize with, that he just wants to get said information because he's told to. So yeah, I mean that's a good example of starting to think about who's really using your site, because I learn every day about different people going to these sites and what they need them for, and it can get kind of tricky, kind of complex. Sometimes it's not just black or white. You learn a little bit. Okay, so what does this have to do with content? You need to know who you're speaking with, the what and the why. Who, what, and why. This could affect how you organize and structure your site. The information architecture we'll get to in a minute. This could affect how you, what channels you socialize information out, and it could determine how your tone of voice, how you speak to people on your website. So, pretending we've all have a total grasp on our personas, we have got our 5 personas or 4 personas that use the website. We know what their pain points are, and we know what they come to the site looking for. Does your site deliver? Does it solve their problems? So you have 59 seconds on average. According to the Nielsen-Norman group, you have 59 seconds to make an impression and to help people find what they're looking for. That's it. Your home page is kind of your elevator pitch. They got to your site because someone told them, someone gave them the link, hey, these people can help you out. Or they searched for you in Google and you're on a search results page and they got to you from a link. They're going to look at your home page and then they're going to decide, can these people help me or not? So I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. I'm going to give you more than 59 seconds actually, but I'm going to give you a website. Oh, well, does your agency, this is what your homepage should do, okay? Describe your agency in very few words, Identify who you help and make the top 3 to 5 services that you offer very open and transparent. Is it easy to find? Okay, so now we're going to get to first impressions. You're on the home page. You end up, you need a header, the top 3 services, and who they serve. A header is kind of like a tagline. And this is what I always look for when I come to these agency sites. When they say, we're going to be working with the BBRA or this or that, I'm like, okay, I go to the site, and the first thing I do is I see a lot of information. I'm looking for that tagline. And I'm not talking about a tagline very markety, like we change the world. I just want to know who you are and what you do, who you serve, okay? So that's what the header is. It's in very few words, it describes we're this agency and this is who we serve. The top 3 services and who you serve. So this is not in Georgia, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council of Wisconsin. I think we have somebody here from the Georgia version of this, right? Right? Okay. But this is in Wisconsin. This is the home page, and this actually, it does take up the whole page, this image. They have their vision statement right there, so maybe you might find that helpful.
You might want to bring up the Georgia Department of Corrections as well.
Yeah, just to find out what they do. Yeah.
We actually do exactly this.
Yeah. All right, so we get annoyed, right? We really want to see, really, what do you do? I'm clicking the menu, right? I click the menu. This is the menu that's on the Wisconsin's version of this. So. Somebody who's not from the Georgia version of the council, can someone tell me what this company does or what this agency does? Who they serve? Now, are you from?
Well, no.
Okay.
I can tell you that they make the criminal justice system a better investment.
Yeah. Awesome.
And they serve people in Wisconsin.
When you're not sure of your wording or your phrasing, one good idea to say it out loud. Let's see, I'm going to put my vision statement. To make the criminal justice system a better investment toward improving the quality of life in Wisconsin. That's a load of words what does that really mean? So just try saying it before you write it, and that kind of helps you determine whether or not you really want it out as part of yours. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to go one step further and we scroll down. Okay, that was one big image they had. Now I'm kind of scrolling down, and it's really big information. So now we have a mission statement, right? Maybe that'll help. And some articles and events, right? So can anybody from this, that was past 59 seconds, can anybody tell me what they do? All right, can I get the representatives from the Georgia Council to tell me what it is that this company does?
Their mandate is totally different from ours.
Oh, okay. So you have no idea. Okay.
Our goals and our mission look nothing like that. Their first statement is vastly different from yours.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I have no idea what they do either. You know, I got bored, I moved on. I really did. I didn't have time for it. Too many words and not enough. I couldn't get to the meat of it. If somebody were to give me that link saying these people could help you, I don't know how they could. I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay, so this is the second one. This is the Ohio Board of Dietetics in Ohio. 59 seconds.
They take complaints.
Does anybody have an idea just based off this? Oh, yes.
They might have a board and have something maybe to do with food, but it's not, I'm not sure if the diets are disgusted by the.
This guy?
What the board does, but it's something around food.
Something around food, yeah.
Maybe
Did anybody notice human trafficking? Yeah, I forgot what I came here for. I'm going to click on human trafficking. Talk about packaging those bananas, right? That is a rogue fruit out there that's wrongly packaged. I didn't click on it because I was kind of scared to. But it would be much better placed, I'm guessing, in a blog if they had some, news articles or something. Actually, I did click on it. It was something. It was human trafficking. Some building got busted for having human trafficking, and then they didn't have any paragraphs. It was all bunched together, and I just didn't bother reading that much further. But I tried to find the tie-in of whether it was a restaurant building, but I don't think it did. So that's a perfect example of how you should package your bananas. Not like that. So we go on. Well, let's look at the About page. Here's the About page. And this is the About page. Oh, I get clicks to mission, laws and rules, members, and staff. Wow. Okay, so you got me. I'm going to click on mission. Wow. It makes the world a better place. All this to show you they've failed the 59-second rule. So I'm going to move on from this. Oh, I'm not, actually. I'm clicking around. Yeah, they failed there. So on your home page, on your site, you should be able to say who you are, what services you offer, and who you serve. Because as a person, if I'm given your link or I find you doing a Google search, I'm going to want to relate to that. I'm going to see your header. I'm going to look at your menu and say, oh, this is for me. I belong here. Or you know what? I don't think this is for me. I got the wrong. This isn't what my need is. I need to go somewhere else. Okay. This is the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities here on our platform, by the way. And I just wanted to, Yen is here. Yen, this is your company. And so now I want to show you a good example of giving that 59-second rule. Now, our research actually shows that having a mission statement in the front, people usually don't look at the mission statement. They just kind of look other places. But in this case, they did a beautiful job of putting it short and sweet, so I know that they're out there for Georgians with behavioral health and challenges. Boom. There's their tagline. There's their header. Clearly, I know where I am, I know who they serve, and I know what I can get. Number one, who they are, their header. Number two, what kind of services? Well, it's right up here in the top. I can find all the services I need right there under services. And who do they serve? People in Georgia that have behavioral, intellectual, and developmental challenges. So this is a pretty good example of the 59 seconds. I know who they are. I know who I'm dealing with, and I know how they can help me, should I need it. So how do you show up? There are a few different ways you show up. A few different ways people are going to find you. There's metadata. There's your organic search. People find you in search. Search engine results page for SEO. And there's information architecture. Metadata. The best way to think of metadata and to look at your own metadata is to Google a page. Google a page with some keywords that you know you're going to find your site. Okay? Like I could Google GOVTalks Georgia Interactive and see what landing page I end up on. There's two components that go to your metadata. It's the meta title and the meta description. So that you have the Georgia Gov Interactive. Okay? Actually, I searched for the wrong spelling on purpose just to see how we would show up, and it corrected me. Instead, search for Georgia Gov Interactive. So this is the search results page. The meta title is the thing that comes after the URL. So Georgia Gov Interactive, a service of the Georgia Technology Authority. This is how it was before. The meta description is the 160 characters underneath the meta title. So we actually saw room to improve this and how we showed up in a search engine results page. We decided that we would let people know that we're digital services for state agencies in Georgia. What we do, who we serve. That gets back to the 59-second thing. We want people to know right away who we are, what we do, who we serve. The meta description also changed. We're an award-winning provider of digital services for state agencies in Georgia. We employ a citizen-first approach to digital content. So that's something that I'm really kind of big on metadata. For every page that you make, any site page that you make on your site, you can make sure that your meta title, this is how you're going to show up, and your meta description accurately describe that page so people are enticed to click on it or they know what they're clicking on. So that's the meta. Number 2 is organic search, all right? SEO, search engine optimization. So to explore your agency's search engine's results page, it's called SERP, or keywords. We went through this. Does this look familiar? This is the DMV. This was a search for DMV in Georgia, right? Nikhil went through this in his presentation. I'm moving to Georgia. I want to see, I need a driver's license in Georgia. So I'm doing a DMV search. Oh, look at that. The Georgia DMV driver's license. Okay, so that's the first one. What happens when I click on that? Oh, there's that, I want to call it a fraudulent site. They do say so that they are not actually affiliated or they're not actually a driver services agency. But this is why you care about your own metadata and SEO value, because the very same people that you're trying to serve and help might become victims of a fraud. And it's not just this website. There are a lot of other government agency websites that employ this technique as well. They're waiting for erroneous clicking. They want someone to click on the site because they think it's something else, just like erroneous marketing. They're just, relying on those people. It might be someone also with accessibility, with cognitive impairment or some other challenges, or elderly people that really might not know whether or not to watch out for these kind of fraudulent sites. So this is something that, does make a difference. The third way you show up is information architecture. Information architecture, IA, is also kind of known as how your site is organized. It can go from the organization, priority, labeling, navigation. So this is consumer ed. This was before they came with us. Remember, this is the site that is from the Consumer Department of the Georgia Department of Law to protect Georgia consumers. They wanted a new website, and so we had to determine an architecture for their site. So how do you do that? The first thing we do is start with a content inventory. So a content inventory, how many of you guys have heard of a content inventory before? So yeah, it's everything, all the pages in your site listed in an Excel spreadsheet like this. So we can see everything. Nothing's missed. You have every page, and there are pages, there are hundreds, some agencies have pages and pages and pages of stuff, and that was a whole nother talk about trying to get rid of some of the old content. But it's just to make sure that we can just literally get inventory of everything on your site, every kind of file, every page, anything that's on your site is going to show up in a content inventory. The next thing we do is look at, what's called a content audit. I'm going to take that inventory and I'm going to categorize information. I'm going to, that is what is the purpose of that page? This is the type of page it is. This is where your bananas and packaging come in. Is it a site page? Is it a blog article? Is it a PDF form? What kind of thing is it? Then I'm gonna, in this case, it was very much focused on types of content. So I wanted to know, well, what kind of questions are people asking? It was either finances, home, cars. There were very specific topics that people were asking about. So I went through and I categorized by topic. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. No, those were the types of content. Sorry. Was it a question? Was it a blog post? Was it a form, a landing page? So you have content type, and now we have the topics for cars and houses and finance, and there was one for security, identity theft. There's some concerns about that as well. So I know what we're working with here. I've got the whole content inventory. I see what kind of categorized topics I'm working with. Now I want to know, so what are people doing on the site? What is the user behavior that people are currently doing? That's a pretty good example of, depiction of, oh, we got this great website. Oh, but no, we want to go over here. That's what we want to do. This is our discovery phase that we do. Content strategy, a lot of my work is kind of done on the front end in the discovery phase. And this is a heat map of how people were using the site. So we're able to see, oh, the majority of the interaction is over here. People are really looking, they're on the search a lot. They're in the search engine because they're not really finding what they're looking for. So that's what that tells us. They wanted cars and homes were the two biggest categories that they were looking for. We also look at Google Analytics. Okay, so we're looking at what are people doing, what pages are people going to on the site. We determined that, most of the visits came from organic search and landed on the posted answers. I mean, the majority of their content in their particular case was, like I said, user generated, and they were landing on previous questions. So the IA, how you show up. This is what we came up with after looking at consumer ed, after determining what we had to work with, and also determining what the people were doing on the site. We came up with, this was my very rudimentary, design for the IA. We based it on existing content, user behavior, and also business goals. Very important, and I'll get to that in a minute. This is what consumer ed looks like now. So we took, with user-generated content and user-centric content, taking what we had to work with and what we knew people were wanting, clicking on, user behavior and analytics, we came up with an information architecture that made sense for this agency. And there is room for, they were very serious about the graphics, so we got the graphic. Carfax front and center, they wanted cars. There were some securities right here, home facts, sign up for your newsletter. The main buckets of information were here, and what the business wanted them to do, or what the agency wanted them to do, call to action, is ask ed, ask consumer ed. So we put that very visible as well. The menu featured, there were under each thing, it made sense for the hierarchy in this particular case to talk about apartments or renting an apartment, buying a house. So we categorized things by that. So there's your difference. We took something that people weren't really, the welcome message really wasn't working. Nobody really reads the mission statements and the vision statements and the welcome message. We wanted people to get straight to the meat. We wanted them to ask Ed a question because this is the bread and butter of their whole site, this content that people were providing them. And, we put things up where people would click on them. So there you have it, IA for the homepage, how they show up. What about the bling? Rotators, sliders, and carousels. I had fun with the bling on this one. The Giphies, I was pretty excited when I was like, oh, I need less copy and more imagery. Well, let me have fun with that. Well, let's talk about the bling. I understand. I do. I understand. Because, I got wrapped up in it myself. I'm like, I'm doing that very thing that we tell our clients, That's a rotator, okay? Or a carousel. You find them a lot, like right there. They take up a lot of the real estate right there in the front of the home page. That's a rotator. Another example of what the rotator looks like. You click on these buttons. They have links on them a lot of the times, and if you see what you're looking for, great. But a lot of times it's just automatic. It just slides right by, and you go, what was that? And you got to go back and click on it again. Okay, well, here's the deal with rotators. People have what they call banner blindness. Say that 10 times. They don't look at those things because they know they're going to change. They know that it's. If you want to look at a funny site, I think it's called "Do You Need a Rotator?" or "Do You Need a Carousel?" Should I use a carousel.com? And it's really a beautiful depiction of why you really should not. They do a pretty good job. But they take up a lot of valuable space. They're right there in the center when you could have other things that people are priority real estate that your users are looking for. And you've done the persona work. Remember, you've got the empathy maps and you empathize with your people. You've got angry people, emotional people looking for information on child support, and they're going to come across the banners, and they got to get through that, and they just want their information. They're not SEO friendly. They're just, in general, bad for usability, and they have a slow page load. But our research shows people don't click on them either. They're just not being used. They're not being clicked on. But don't take our word for it. What about the experts? What do other people say about rotators? James Loyal, he is a guy, I think he's out of Stockholm. This is what he has to say about rotators. And Adam Fellows is another respected information architect. He talks about banner blindness. And Tim Ash, yeah, he's pretty blunt about it. So that's the bling. So what type of content do you need? And this varies from, agency to agency, but what should you have? These are all different types of content. Now, remember, content strategy is anything that goes onto your site. So even if it's PDFs or anything, everything counts as content. These are the various different kinds of content that you might find on your site. Content do's. So, taxonomy and categorization. Well, that comes back to the UI. Categorizing your information so that people logically can understand what comes next, what they can find and what they can expect to find under different buckets of information. Multimedia and images. I know I said about the bling, but definitely keep in mind that when we're going to be all omniscient and omnichannel, that it includes everything. Call to actions. People don't think about this a lot of times. They just put in content up for content's sake. But remember, content strategy supports your business goals. So you want to think, what do I want people to do here? I know what they want. I'm going to deliver what they want. But what do I want from them? It's a two-way street. That's a little bit of the content marketing. You want something from them, you give something to them. Do, plan content. I'm amazed at just in how the very few years it's just become such a science. There's a science to this. It's not just writing pretty words or putting pretty images up. I mean, you really do have to plan and organize content and be committed. Consistency, a really big deal with content. Even when you feel like you don't have much to say, if you have a blog, it's really not doing you any good unless you're being consistent and posting information on it. You know, Rachel can tell you, we've got editorial calendars and meetings, and we plan content. Be consistent. Definitely be consistent in tone, in voice. If you go to the Content Strategy Playbook, I've got an example of a brand, a TOV chart, tone of voice chart, so that if you work with other people that either do guest posting or you have guest articles on your site, you can clearly say, this is how we speak to people. We know our audience, we've done the personas, we've done the empathy maps, we came up with our own brand voice, kind of goes into brand. Many agencies don't have the luxury of having a brand department, marketing department. You kind of have to determine what your voice is going to be. And are you going to AP style, or are you going to use a different style guide? Most people use AP for online stuff, but that goes into more detail in the playbook. So be consistent, whatever you do in planning, scheduling, and speaking to people. Video. It's been around for a while, but I'm surprised at how many people still don't use it. It's and he's looking at me like, oh no, they're going to want to put video where the carousel was. Video is a great tool, and you don't have to have a big budget to create a message. There's a lot of interesting statistics around video. Forrester Research did a study, or some doctor, I have his name, but if you want to know his name, I'll tell you. You can email me. But he estimated that as far as video is concerned, 1 minute of video was the equivalent to about 1.8 million words. You can get a lot of information in 45 seconds of video. It doesn't even have to be good. Really. And I noticed, it got people's attention. I'm looking out and people are on their phones. They looked up. Oh, moving pictures. That told more than what I could sit here. Oh, I did this really cool thing once. I went and did it was a team building experience, and we made food and it was judged, and I wore these hats. That told you more in 46 seconds than I can tell you just standing here. Now, I'm looking at you, environmental services, and this could be, keep in mind, this could be supporting, you don't have to have this on your homepage, it could support a blog article, this could support, anything, blog post, it could be your press release, look what we did, look what our team did. So anything that you do, it just becomes kind of an attention getter, whether it's perfect for social media. There is a whole content strategy thing around video. When you're on Facebook, okay, you're on your phone, you're scrolling down the feed, I should ignore that, oh yeah, cute kitten. Oh, and then you come to a video, no sound, because you have to commit. You don't want to commit to it because you could click on it to commit to it and you hear the sound, but you see the words. It's all like, has transcripts to it, and you can't take your eyes off of it. It's like, I don't want to commit to it, I don't want to click on it and hear the music, but I can't, what? So there's like a whole strategy of that. It gets people's attention. you have that creative person that could maybe make this on an app. This was made in less than, in 10 minutes. Think about what you could do. I'm looking at environmental protection agencies, things that if you want to create a call to action and you want to provoke an emotion and get people to do something, this is definitely an option in its content, and it's actually more feasible and doable than a lot of people think, and very quick to do. Content don'ts. Don't copy content. Don't provide, but that goes with the videos too, I should have a caveat. That was royalty-free music. Don't use music that is, a license, so don't use it like in the Beatles or something. Don't provide too little content. Don't provide too much content. Don't rely on file attachments, and don't forget about accessibility in anything you do. Even if it's video, you want the, words up there too. So those are the contents don'ts. So what do you want? Was that last little slide, transition slide. What do you want from content? This is something that a lot of people don't even consider. They know that they have users. They know that that their website isn't quite where it needs to be, and they want to make it user-friendly and mobile, accessible. They want to, take care of the users that are their audience that's coming to the site. But what do you want from your website? There could be a variety of things, and again, content strategy supports your overall business plan. Do you want less phone calls coming into your call center, right? Do you want to maybe get more members on your site? Do you want people to fill out a form because it's really a headache when they have to fax it in or whatever, or it's easier to put into your database? Do you simply want to establish credibility, create awareness, expose your services, or drive traffic? Maybe you want to do all of those things. But always keep at the very top of your list your core goals, what you want people to do. Because you're going to take care of those people that come to your site. But what's the call to action? What are your goals? This is an ideal content strategy. You have your agency goals. You have your visitor goals. They came to your site for something. And then you have what we call conversion, which is that sweet spot right there in the middle. Now, I realize this isn't like e-commerce. We're not like, marketing affiliate summit, one-on-one or anything. But you have goals, and you want people to take a certain action on your site. Read our facts, use our forms, sign up for our newsletter, give us feedback. Maybe you want them to engage on social media. Why? Because this is your business goals. This is what you want them to do because, we'll reduce the amount of phone calls to support. It's the most efficient way to get people into our database. We can sell upcoming events if they sign up for the newsletter. We want to improve our services. We want feedback. So it all kind of relates back to your business plan. How many of you guys have a business plan? Okay. Okay, so for the next worksheet, it's the content strategy worksheet. The core goals. List 3 to 5 core goals for your agency. I'm kind of curious. Yes.
These are more my goals.
Uh-huh.
Reduce phone calls, help constituents without them having to come to the office, do it online, make processes easier, reduce fraud, and establish credibility. I would like him to not go, government.
Yeah. What is fraud? What kind of fraud is?
Well, testing.
Oh, okay.
Which that's not necessarily the website, but the website is involved all on the sidelines with that.
Really? How is that? I'm curious. How do people?
Well, they did report fraud apparently on the website.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting.
So we have a lot of applications that connect to the website that they get to.
Okay. Okay. Good, yeah. So do you see the steps that you would need to take on your website to do these?
Some days.
Some days? But that's good. It's good to have the big picture kind of goals at the very top of your list. Anybody else want to share what their core goals are for their agency? I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
Sure. Number one would be improve the customer experience in our case. That's a big one. And two would be to add value to the agency for their investment in the site and make sure that they're getting what they expected from it. And number three would be something that was already mentioned, reduce the number of actual calls that are coming in. Because calls that are coming in directly to the call center cost 20 times as much to analyze and do electronic and it's a seamless experience.
Yeah.
Business.
That seems to be kind of a common theme, is the calls coming in. Anybody else? Yeah.
Well, I work for the lottery, so if you guys want to provide players with more information about how to play games, get more players, promote games and promotions, and increase engagement
Increase engagement?
on the site.
What do people come to the lottery site? Well, they come to the lottery site to find out the numbers, to check their numbers, right? Anything else?
They do. Main thing is to come check the winnings. I mean, but then also to find out how to play games. We do have the frequently asked questions. You can actually play online as well now.
Does anybody ever come check to see what the odds are of winning?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's on
What games are going to, have the bigger payoff?
there. Yes.
Does your website reflect that information? Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Sure.
I'm more with customer services, so I'm actually a board freelance agency, so I broke them out for each one, so like the as a whole is process constituent services information easier. We get a lot of questions that really isn't targeted for our demographic, but we just get like every type of question you can imagine. For aging services, we want to just provide information easily for our caregivers. For child support, we keep mentioning that. I'm like, I think he's talking about child support. But our goal is just to reduce the walking traffic in our offices. So we're trying to do better actually using you guys' location
Module.
and then the feedback is, I have Ellen Dietrich, that she's also with feedback, it's just to minimize call center traffic. So, trying to do all of that.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. I did look at your website, though. I think we're going to be working with that soon, and that's a lot of information that that you guys give out. What do people when they come into your locations? What's the number one thing that they're looking for?
When they come to our website.
You said they're looking for locations, and you're looking to reduce the.
Well, for example, we're dealing with Google because people can't really find like our operating hours, our numbers for local offices. They understand that the state office is at 2 Street, but we have 159 counties, meaning that we have 159 offices. And people are actually taking our like business page names and doing whatever information and giving out wrong information. And somehow Google is not communicating with our website to make those updates. So that's my struggle right now in dealing with those discrepancies for 159 offices basically.
Wow. So when people come into the offices, what are they generally coming in for? Like,
Applying for SNAP.
Okay.
Fees, for child support, of course, child support, the aging services, and stuff.
Right.
We're just trying to be more than all that information, so it'll be a little bit easier to navigate our website.
Yeah, you guys, that's going to be fun persona research because you have so many different departments of who you help.
Our number one hit for our website and the agent as a whole is for job, and we don't do necessarily are in the avenue to do that. So.
Anybody else have want to share their core? Yeah.
Mine is very different. I'm with Holocaust Commission, so a very small agency who has a very close audience. So I kind of borrowed from the example of established credibility. We're a secular, we're not religiously affiliated, we're not partisan, and we're historically accurate. We also want to provide educational resources, so obviously teachers, but also students within our public, as well as legislators, leaders in the community. We don't want to promote our public exhibits. We have an Anne Frank exhibit located in Sandy Springs, and it's free admission and free tours to that. That's where we get most of our traffic. But we also want to increase attendance at our workshops and programs.
Okay, so I'm hearing you want to get engagement. You want people to come to your site to engage, maybe know about the upcoming events, credibility, it sounds like. So do you currently have a plan in place, something like this?
Yes, and specifically, like the curriculum standards in the state are changing, and those changes we've been in the process of helping write those standards. We're going to be providing lesson plans for those. So we're coming up with, our goals are going to change when we start publishing those lesson plans.
Oh, cool.
Our website, we want to be the hub for all the teachers in Georgia that are teaching World War II / Holocaust. We want to be the place they come to first.
Okay, so you're going through a change in what you're offering. Cool. Well, let's look at, those are just the goals. Let's look at digging in a little further. How are you going to measure your success? Okay, so you've looked at personas, you've done empathy maps, you know who your user is, you know what your user wants, you've looked at how you showed up for your user based on all that. You've figured out what you want when your user gets there. You've got the goods, you know what you want them to do, call to actions. Now, how do you measure the success? How do you know what you want to put in place is happening? Key performance indicators. KPIs. This is businessy, corporate, like, private sector sort of talk. I mean, I'm sure you guys have KPIs, right? KPIs? These are basically a way to measure how you're performing. They're basically goals. Page views, shares, signups. In many of your cases, less phone calls to the call center, web forms, contact forms, maybe. These are all indicators of if your site is performing or not. Measurable. Let's say you want, in the next 3 months, I want to get 15% more page views on my events. I want to get 20% more signups on the next event that we're having. Anything that you can measure against is a KPI. So you set your plan of action, and you've got a KPI, and then you give yourself a timeline, a month, 2 months, a quarter, 3 months, and you go back and you measure that. Check the data. So just as content is a living, breathing thing, actual data is also a living, breathing thing. And to check your success, you have to keep checking the data. How is your content performing based on your own KPIs, right? Make adjustments. So that's on here in the sheet. We're not going to do this whole thing. I've got an editorial calendar here for you if you constantly provide information. And a publishing checklist. We have trends and analytics. This is where you record your observations based off of your KPIs. Oh, well, we wanted 18% more people to sign up for our X event. We only got 3% more. So then you go and you figure out why. What kind of adjustments are you going to make sure that you can do it again? Were you not maybe sending out enough newsletters? Were you, what you troubleshoot to try to hit your KPI? So the summary here is what we've done, and hopefully, and this is an ongoing thing, and content strategy is a huge, it involves a lot. There's actually, if you go to the playbook, you can find some other examples. But basically, we're identifying our audience, user-centric stuff, helping them, describing our agency under 1 minute, making sure you show up. We know exactly who you are, what you do for who, because some agencies are kind of complicated. Like the dietetics, whatever that was, don't really know what they do. Or you might have some niche kind of agency that you don't really know what they do. As long as you can verbalize it in a very small sentence, that's great. Make sure you show up. Check your metadata. Use the metadata. Every time you publish a blog post or you publish a site page, think about how it's going to show up when you Google it. In the 160 characters for the description and the actual title. Make sure it clearly depicts what the person is going to be clicking on, or it entices them to click using action words, if you want them to join an event. Determine types of content that you need, okay? And know your goals, because ultimately this is supporting your goals. And keep track of your performance and make adjustments. Thank you.